Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Pilot of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer 40k Imperium magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to help the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue 36 of Imperium magazine, and we also get one of potentially three Necron Tomb Blades, a pretty cool flying unit, bit different. There are 3 different main weapon types for them, so take your pick, stick with it and have a bit of fun, but other than that, I believe from this range we will get the other 2 at some point, so fingers crossed we do, and then you can build the other 2 weapon types if you wanted to. So really cool stuff though, and pretty handy to have, so they're pretty decent units. Now, into the magazine itself, of course, we are greeted by the Tomb Blades themselves. So these agile aerial hunters are fast-moving flying craft that harass the enemy from the sky, swooping low to fire lethal energy weapons at targets of opportunity. So, the weapon types that the Tomb Blades can actually carry themselves are the Particle Beamer. So, a weapon that fires streams of minuscule particles which detonate when they strike their target, blasting the body to atoms. Twin Gauss blasters, which emit disassembling beams that tear apart the target's atomic structure, dissolving armour, flesh and bone. Very much like the good old Gauss blasters that you get for your Necron warriors and the Immortals and stuff like that. And then there are the twin Tesla carbines, which mount very differently. They mount towards the back of the craft, but these are lethal energy weapons that emit crackling beams of force that can engulf and destroy entire units with a single burst of fire. So really cool stuff. We also get some extra information about other features that the Tomb Blades have, including their shield vanes, shadow loom and nebuloscope, which all have their own different kind of abilities, whether it's cloaking, shields or even targeting devices. So really cool stuff. On the other page, of course, we have the battle record for it as well. This is where you can kind of name its phalanx designation. You can also give it its attack patterns depending on the weapon you pick, so have a bit of fun with that, and that adds a little bit extra to your game, which is the main thing that you want really with it as well. Make it your own. Then moving on, we get some lore and some kind of detail about the armory flyers of the Necron forces. So, powered by technology far beyond the means of the galaxy's other races, Necron flying vehicles are capable of undertaking maneuvers that defy the laws of physics and allow them to destroy the vessels of mortal pilots and establish aerial superiority with frightening ease. So, of course, we already have a flying unit, and we have had a couple of flyers before, or vehicles that can actually have an ability to fly, including the Spider and the Technomancer, with his kind of little adapted spider as well at the bottom of him, but they both have the ability to fly, and of course these Tomb Blades have the ability to fly and are core flying units. On the other page though, we get some details about some of the others. So we have the Doom Scythes, for instance. So the Doom Scythes are supersonic fighter craft that can range far ahead of a Necron invasion and are capable to operate independently of their commanders. The dimensional repulsor drives that power these vessels have a devastating effect upon living brains. So, the Doom Scythe, obviously very different, and another part of the Necron range that you can get, and pretty cool as well with them. Then there are the Tomb Blades, which of course we have from this week, which have a curious motion for crafts of their size and design, foregoing the arrow straight of attack vectors that most jet bikes and fighter craft. The dimensional repulsor engines that power these vessels ensure that they are barely affected by gravity and other forces. And then there are Night Scythes, which are a variation of the Doom Scythe, which trades firepower for the ability to deploy troops instead. Also pretty decent and pretty different. There is just literally that occasional little bit to it as well, so they're very different. But yeah, use those to kind of ghost through enemy defences, and then project a wormhole to which your infantry can pop up. So pretty cool. Then we have one of the stories about vengeful hunters. So the Drukhari raiders have descended on a maiden world to torture and plunder. A trio of Crimson hunters, Eldari aspect warriors, and expert pilots streak through the skies tasked with defending the pristine planet from the twisted denizens of Komorga. So really cool stuff, and a pretty decent story as well. So this is all about aerial combat more than anything, which is obviously a very big part of 40k if you want it to be. If you do like your aerial combat, of course, you have got the box game, so you've got Aeronautica Imperialis, for instance. So if you want just a little mini aerial game, you can have one. So really cool stuff, and pretty fun as well. So really good and quite enjoyable. Then you've got your how to build guide. There are quite a lot of little components to this, so it's a little bit more complicated than most other Necron units. What you may find is you might have some little issues with kind of bits that need to be glued together, and gluing certain cables together and stuff like that. Very small fiddly bits. I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be the easiest. It's going to be a little bit more challenging than your average mini because they're slightly older, so they have some very annoying little tiny bits to them that can be an absolute pain in the backside. So take it easy, take your time with it, dry fit everything before you glue it, and I'm sure you'll have no problems. But yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah, have fun with it. Just literally, as I say, take your time. Do not rush it, because if you rush it, that's when mistakes can happen, and if you do make a mistake, it's not going to be easy to solve if you've already glued it. So just take it easy, and pick your weapon out as well. So whether you want to have whichever glue you want, whichever one you want, make sure you kind of glue the weapons into position. Just do it one at a time. You might need to hold them in place for a few moments to kind of get them going, but otherwise you should be alright, I hope. Yeah, entirely up to you which weapon you want to use. You don't have to use the one the magazine is asking you to, but in theory I believe that we will be getting the extra bit, so it might be worth it in the long run. Your how to paint section, pretty straightforward. The way the magazine's telling you to do it is pretty much exactly the way you would have painted all your other Necrons. However, I personally have a slight idea of how to do slightly different, and I may go ahead with it, but we will see. But yeah, entirely up to you if you want to paint it to identically match your current Necrons, or if you want to just change it up ever so slightly and make them look a little bit differently. Either way, I'm sure you'll have fun doing it, which is always really good stuff. Definitely one that you will need to fully build before you paint up, in all honesty. And of course it has its clear base, because it's a flyer. It is up to you if you want to base this at some point, so whether you're going to use the Astro Granite that we get in a couple of weeks time, or if you've got other ground covering that you want to use instead, entirely up to you, but you can do that if you wish to, but otherwise you can get a really cool looking unit out of it no matter what. Then we have the datasheet for the Tomb Blade itself, of course have a movement range of 14 inches, and a few decent little bits and pieces for it as well, so all the different weapons are listed as well, so no matter which one you choose for that one will have its stats as well there. And of course other war gear abilities, including its nebula scope, shadow loom, and of course the shield veins themselves, all mentioned on there as well. On the other side, it just gives you a bit of information of how to use certain things, including the twin Tesla carbine and the nebula scope mentioned on here as well. So really handy, pretty cool, and yeah, definitely worth doing. On the next page though, we have more of core rules. So over the next few issues we are going to get absolutely shed loads of the core rules pages, and this will be enough to kind of get you going and giving you a heavier understanding into Warhammer 40k that you can then use and adapt to other factions as well. So if you are going to step away from the factions that the magazine gives you, aka Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, Adeptus Mechanicus and Necrons, you can utilise the core rules from this magazine to help you play with the other factions. You'll just need data sheets for each one of them, which you can normally get from the codexes, and you can also get them online. You can use the Warhammer app. There are other apps as well that will give you all the data sheets if you want them to, if you don't want to splash for cash on the codex for the chosen faction that you have. And then more of core rules kind of going through, which is always very, very handy. And then we have our battle plan for the week. So our battle plan is Battle for the Forge. So the victory is a progressive objective. So fuel pipes and forge facilities cover this district. The Adeptus Mechanicus must secure these key battlefield locations and prevent the Necrons from sabotaging their forge facility. At the end of each player's turn, the player whose turn it is scores 1 victory point for each objective they control. And the battle, of course, lasts for 5 rounds. There will be 3 objectives, so you will have 1, 2, and 3, depending on where you are, whether it is part of the building, part of the pipe work that we will be getting sometime soon, which I believe is next week, or you'll have your heliotrope reactor on there, but you don't need to capture that because it's not part of it, but it's for 2 building parts and the pipes in the centre. For this though, if you are going to do it, you will need your Royal Warden, Technomancer, 10 Necron Warriors, and then your Tombblade, going up against the Adeptus Mechanicus of the Tech Priest Dominus, Tech Priest Engineer from last week, your 10 Skitarii Rangers, and your 1 Cataphron Destroyer that we currently have. And yeah, away you go. Really, really good stuff. Quite fun. It looks like it should be a good little battle, and I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it. So really, really good stuff. And of course, another battle plan is always very, very handy to have. Then next week we get new scenery, so we get the good old battlefield terrain of the pipe work that is mentioned on the previous one. Yeah, pipe work. You know, it fits into your heliotrope reactor, so depending on how you painted up your heliotrope reactor, you might want to paint it up very, very similar. So for instance, mine looks like a bit like that, and I will paint up slightly similar to it. So I'll have blue coils in there, and I will go for a very similar colour scheme to it, so that kind of coppery bronze kind of colour for some of the pipe work. Bit of gold, bit of silver, happy days, bit of fun. Very, very easy to paint though, in all honesty, you can't go wrong. The week after next though, so issue 38, we get our texture paint, which is Astro Granite. You get a texture tool, which is definitely handy because these texture paints, if you apply them with brush, it will ruin your brush, so do not do it. Use a texture tool, you can spread it out a lot easier. Very, very easy to do. And we also get Uriel Yellow as well. So another handy colour to have, and a bit of fun. And the week after that, I believe it's Cataphron Destroyers again, if I remember rightly. So, thank you very, very much for watching, and I shall catch you sometime in the near future. Bye bye now.